everybody.
Hey everyone, what's up?
Oh my gosh. Hey everybody. So it's Matthew. What's up? We
And it's
really
Rebekah.
sorry.
Sorry, Matthew.
Oh man, that extrovert. I just gotta get it all out, man. I just
sorry,
gotta get it
sorry.
all out. I'm so sorry, but oh my gosh, it's burning. So we are so excited to have you guys. Hey, you know what? I am from Kansas and I really like it out here. I like being in the middle of everything. And we would really love to know where you guys are all from. So that comment section, you know, that one that's down there that you can click on and you can type in. Oh man, we would love it if you could help us out and type in where you're from, because we love seeing where you guys are joining us from. Really would love that. So what's up,
Yeah,
Rebekah?
sup, Matthew. You know what? I'm also curious about what certifications folks have. So I am a PAC certified trainer, a certified coach, and a certified consultant, and a mentor with PAC, just like yourself. And I'm wondering if you guys could also type in the comment section what certifications you have. We love to hear from you and who is watching and what's up.
Cool. So, we noticed a little bit something last time when we joined all of you for the very first time, that we didn't really give you this good little, like, package deal of what SUP really is. We've given you some tastes here and there on Facebook, and we've said some things here and there, but Rebekah, could you help me out with this? Could you share with everybody what SUP is all about?
Yeah, absolutely. So SUP is all about highlighting you guys, you. It's about highlighting our certified community, our PAC family, and the great work that you guys are doing in the certified community. If you guys checked out SUP last week, you got to hear from Carol Bailey and some of really cool work that she's doing. And I just can't even wait to hear from the ladies that are going to share with us this evening as well. So we want to highlight the certified community and also highlight some of the tools. I mean, Teepa has put together all these tools for us to use out there in whatever industry or service that we work in. And so she's given us these tools. How are we using these tools? Because if I hear an idea from someone else, it might spur for me a new way to use one of these amazing tools. So we want to highlight you and the tools that you're using. So that's up.
So cool. And, I really love that part you were talking about, how you were excited about the ladies that we have on today, because that totally helps to segue me into our next piece, which is talking about one of these wonderful ladies. So, Laura. Hey, what's up, Laura?
Hey, what's up?
Thank you so much for joining us. We're so excited.
Thank you for having me.
No problem. We're so excited to have you. So real quick, tell us a little bit about you. Tell us, who you are, where you're at, and give us a little bit of that background.
Sure. So my name's Laura Lavoie, and I've been working in one of the same place for almost 24 years now. It's Glen Meadow Retirement Community, and our marketing director would tell me that it's the Life Care or something. She changed the name, but at any rate, for almost 24 years now, and I am the Life Enrichment Director there, and I am also a dementia specialist there and PAC trained from Teepa and 3 certifications now.
So cool. So today, what we're highlighting are engagement leaders. And that's why you're joining us today, because we hear that you're doing some pretty cool stuff where you're at with your engagement leader certification. So I'm curious, rewinding back the certs that you have, how did you first hear about Teepa Snow and the positive approach to care?
I actually heard from her originally. I went to an all-day workshop that she had in Boston, and I had heard this much about her, but I thought, I really liked her philosophy. So I went, and that was it. I mean, that one day changed my entire perspective, the whole doing doing with and not two people was like, oh my God, and then just the fact that she was going to be, offering these trainings to people, I right away went back and looked up, when she would be sort of local, because I'm not a big flyer, and she was going to be in Boston that next year for training. So I hopped right into that one as fast as I could. And then the next year, which was last year, engagement leader came up. So I was like, oh yes, sign me up. And meanwhile, I had trained the first year, I trained all of our staff, which was about 250 people, with 6 hours of tech training, and grew my skills and loved it and knew I wanted to do more. So I did the engagement leader. Same thing. Loved it. Was just like, oh my God, I need to do all of the things. And, had time to chat with Teepa about a really specific question. And so came home with that. And then I was going to do apprentice days, but it ended up not as funky this year. So then consultant came on virtually. And yes. So that's the one that I just finished in June, and I'm actually I have one more mentor call with Amanda, and then I'll be
cool
there too.
So it's kind of interesting how we hear a lot of the same story of, I saw Teepa and I was hooked. Like Teepa, if there are any fishermen out there, people who like to fish, Teepa is the ultimate bait. She will hook anybody and reel them into this whole pack concept because she is so amazing. And that whole concept of doing with versus to somebody, it's like, oh my gosh, this is it. This is what I want to be doing. And you kind of led into one of my other questions that I was going to ask you, which was what certs you have. So we've got the trainer cert, we've got the consultant cert, we've got the engagement leader cert, correct? Is there anything else that I'm missing?
That is it so far.
Cool. Okay. So you have those 3 certifications, and what an awesome combination. And oh my gosh, if we had more time, we would love to explore those other certifications that you have and what you've done. But today we're focusing on that engagement leader certification. So that's where we're at.
Which is a great one.
We're coming in. Yes. So amazing. So amazing. So when we had talked before and getting to know each other and everything, and you were talking about what you took with your approach to engagement in your facility, can you share with our viewers how you began to see all that setup and prep time as more than just work that you had to do before you went and did things with your folks that you were helping?
Yeah, sure. Like what missed opportunities we had through the years that now we don't have to miss, because you sit in the room with your the other activities folks and your staff, and we're like, quick, we got to do this, and we have these programs to run, and then we've got to do this, and we're like, oh my God, I have 75 more beats to do. And it was just like, when we went there, like part of this thing was showing you how every prep can be an engagement and can be a program, and you can grab those folks who are sitting in the hall doing and almost asleep, and it's like, I'll go up to them with a laundry basket full of stuff I just bought that needed all the stuff clipped off of it, and spend 45 minutes just reminiscing and showing this person that she can still use a pair of scissors safely and successfully, and cutting wallpaper samples for different things, and somebody can help you do that and reminisce about all the wallpaper and how nobody's using it anymore, but it's coming back. And just engagement beyond is just able to flow.
Wow, that is so cool. So it almost sounds like when you got that certification that you walked away with like a set of goggles, right? That when you put them on, you just saw all of the potential in just about everything in the environment that you were working in and how it could be used for engagement. And so I'm a little bit curious, about the one example you gave us with a resident named Sheila. Tell us a little bit about what happened with Sheila. Tell us about Sheila, and then what happened with Sheila that really got things going.
And that was my conversation with Teepa. So Sheila is a person who lives with us who, you know, people always say she's really difficult. She's really hard. And I love her. I love her so much. And she's very fashionable and she's very wonderful. But she feels like she needs to be important and she needs to be invited to things and should be. And if you don't, she's very upset, and of course she can't remember if you have or not, so you always just haven't. So I spent some time actually getting some really great advice from Teepa, and never have I seen a piece of advice work every time. So she was saying to me, you know, she feels so important, she feels like she really isn't being invited. You were looking for her, so every time you see her. So the first time it happened, I was like nervous, and she walked into the doorway with the face, you know, of really ready to just pow us one for not. And I was just like, Sheila, there you are, I've been looking for you all over the place. And she, well, I was in my apartment, and she has that, you know, North Atlantic accent that isn't real, that's very regal. And I said, the one place I didn't look, because you're such a social butterfly, you're everywhere. Well, I'm so glad you're here. Can you help me with this? And every time, and it's such a great thing because it's genuine. I love seeing Sheila, and you don't want her to feel like you're, you know, being, you know, ingenuine. So every time I am genuine, and I tell my staff to be, and they have great results with it. And she was one of the people that I could get. We sat down with the wallpaper, and though she didn't have all of the skills, she could give me a rough square that we could later cut. And every time I asked for her help, she was right there. And even if somebody said Sheila's in a mood, and I'd be like, well, let me see and then let me go down and find her and ask her to help me with this. And it was like one of those, you know, the bright light comes from the sky and says, beautiful, what a beautiful change for her and for her life and for us, you know. Yeah,
that is so cool. So you noticed, one, you know, with Teepa's advice that she gave you when you were at the CERT, how much of a difference that made to give her that genuine, well, there you are, oh my gosh, we've been looking everywhere for you, and what a difference that made for her. But then also noticing, like you were talking about with cutting out some of the wallpaper samples and things like that, how getting her to come help you with those situations gave you that opportunity to engage more with her and do more with her in those moments, and how amazing that was to be able to see that and see how that could be used even with somebody that, I mean, let's face it, almost everywhere you go, people are always going to say, oh, there's that one difficult one, that one person.
Right.
Nobody can, nope, she won't do anything you ask her to. You might as well just leave her alone. But
right.
You were able to take these goggles and see, here, yep, I see this and I see that. Oh, okay. Sheila, hey, come here and help me with this, would you? I really could use your help, and get her engaged in that. And
yeah,
the bright light.
And she was somebody who always wanted to tell you that she had an important job. You know, she didn't just have a regular job. She had an important job because she did. She was the head of things in a school department. You know what I mean? And so for her to feel necessary and needed again, I mean, which we all want to do, right? It has really been, you know, a blessing to be able to do that for her and with her, you know.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. So, our next piece that I want to talk with you about was one I think that really floored Rebekah and I, was so amazing. It's about Frasers.
Oh, I love Frasers.
So I'm going to share my screen here, and I would love for you to go over with us about
Sure.
Frasers. So tell us about Frasers.
So Fraser's was a room that was very used in not a good way at all. It was almost always empty and underused. And there were a couple of brothers who were really excited about some of the work we had done with their mom who had dementia on a different program, which is our buddy system. And when she had to move out, even though we were trying to do our best, their mom would elope, and we are not a locked unit, so she had to go somewhere that could better take care of her. But they were so thrilled with us that they donated some money, and they wanted it to be used for dementia. So I had just happened to come back from engagement leader training, and I thought, I know what we can do with this money. And it took very little convincing because, the people at Glen Meadow and the management of Glen Meadow, it's part of our strategic plan to do better for the people we live, that live there for dementia. So it was an easy sell, and because they saw the value in it. And so Fraser's is this beautiful room. You can see it's right to the outdoors. All the plants are real. We have a fish tank. We have aromatics going on and speakers with beautiful, nice ambient sound. And then we have our 2 cabinets here. And the cabinets, when you open them up, they look like regular cabinets till you open them up. And then they are all things that say, can you help me? And so there are different kits. There's some of them there. This was, putting together goodie bags for a child's birthday. But you could sit there and you could do that right away. Or you could say, let's pull all the green ones first, or maybe all the slinkies, and you can make it as long or as short as necessary. Or there's the laundry basket that my friend Judy helped me cut all the things off of. And this is a school bag, a teacher's messenger bag with answer keys and children's, young children's work. And there it is being done. And we've got the proverbial red pencil there. And then this is Home Depot, guys. Home Depot is wonderful to you. If you tell them what you're doing, they have all those free samples, but then they found more for me. And they were just really gracious about getting me stuff so we could do an interior design box. So we could ask people, this one is, can you help me pick something, for my kitchen? But we might be talking about, we're going to redo this room. What do you think we could use? So every one of them you can see has an ask to it. And then we have a special place. This is for our accountants up there. And here is for our creative folks that want to build boxes and things. That will be me. And so it's always got a thing that they can help with. And then we put it in a specific spot because you don't want to make it seem like, oh, you're just doing busy work with me. You don't really need this. So we always make sure that they will know, would you put it over here? This is where they pick up the stuff that they need, type of thing. So that's the plan anyway. A little bit sidetracked because of COVID, but yeah.
Yeah. This whole COVID thing. But that is so cool. Yeah. So you came up with these kits, so to speak, that can be used by. I mean, does it have to be only used by certain people, or could anybody use it?
No. Yeah, thank you. No, Fraser's, we didn't want it to be the dementia room because then it takes away more than half of your population, and it takes away, the other half who don't think that they have dementia. And so it becomes a room nobody wants to go into. So it's just a room for peace, restoration. When we had somebody pass away, I was telling you guys unexpectedly, and we had staff go in there just to sit and be. And, then, by the way, hey, if you happen to be somebody who'd like to help us with something, like I myself, if I don't have dementia when I get older, I want to go through the button jar and I want to separate them out because I just love to do that because, or I want to be like, ooh, can I separate those rhinestones for you? So yeah, and taking some of the kits that I learned at the engagement meeting, and then all of a sudden you start thinking of everything, and you can make up hundreds of kits.
That is so cool.
But yeah,
so
for everyone.
You were able to not only create a room that would really be so beneficial for our folks living with dementia, and helping to get them engaged in things other than just sitting around wandering, but then also for other folks too, things that they had in their lives that they did that made them feel useful or that they enjoyed doing. And you were able to
Right.
put all that together for them to come to this wonderful place called Fraser's and do that. And you mentioned just a little bit earlier about how, you know, with this, it was an amazing donation from a family who really wanted to do something good. But then you also said something about Home Depot and how it doesn't necessarily take a huge donation to do something like this.
No.
That you can actually
No,
go
it doesn't.
and do this without that. And so that experience you had at Home Depot, tell us just a little bit about how that went down when you went to go find some of these things.
Sure. So I had arms full of like every free thing they give you. You know, I was feeling very like hoardish of them. And so I just went up to one of the gentlemen that was in the carpet spot and I asked him to reach me some of the others, and he kind of looked at me and I said, I'm not just, you know, hoarding these. It's because I'm doing a box that will be for people who were maybe interior designers or home, you know, people who love creating things in their home. And we're doing this for people with dementia and Alzheimer's. And he was like, wow. And he goes, wait a minute, actually, I can give you, you know, why don't you take little pieces of these runners? And he said, I can cut off, you know, small amounts that are uneven and I can just, you know, hand you those. And then we've got a lot of free samples over here. And did you get countertop? And he went with me like around. And I mean, there were few things I had to pay a little bit for, but there you find the right person, and he was just very excited to help, and
So
and
cool.
and he thought, you know, did you think of this, and what about
Yes.
this?
So it's being
Yeah.
able to, you can go out there and you can talk with these folks like at Home Depot or Lowe's or
Right.
True Value.
You get the
and,
wallpaper places. Yeah.
yeah. That
Yeah.
is such a
And the other
great
thing
idea.
you can do, yeah, I'm sorry. The other thing that you can do, which we did for a couple of things before the monies, was that you can do a fundraiser with staff, you know, for staff, like of candy or something, where you can get a little bit of a purse started, you know. And then, like I said, when you walk into the dollar store, you can make a dozen kits just by looking what's at the dollar store, you know.
What would we do without the dollar store, right? I mean,
Oh,
there's
the
so
dollar
many
store.
awesome things there for us to go and pick up.
Yeah.
So cool. So you have done a lot with this certification. You really have used these skills and awareness that you came away with and put them to use. And that is so amazing. And
you look at things in a different way. Yeah.
Right. You got those goggles on, right? That you're able to like see these new things. Just to kind of to wrap up our piece, because I know we got another awesome engagement leader to get to. You wrote an article a while back about the buddy system, and you mentioned that. Would you mind just giving us, touching on the buddy system and what you did with that in your place?
Sure, and I think it's wonderful. So we put a thing in the paper, the free papers, you know, that just said, if you would like to have a buddy, you know, we're looking for friends for our folks with dementia or Alzheimer's, and we'll give you 2 hours of training, and you have to be committed to at least twice a week, a half hour. And we want you to just be their friend. We don't want you to be a volunteer working with them. We don't want you to be, so you're just going to be their buddy. And we had them fill out these really pretty in-depth papers telling about their hobbies, their children, how many children, where they grew up, so we could match them well. And it's been phenomenal. We've had some really great relationships built from it.
That is so cool. And I
Try
know,
to keep it short.
yeah, no, it's hard too when it's that amazing and there's so many working pieces.
Yeah, and I could go on and on.
And today our tool that we're going to talk about is actually the Online Dementia Journal, and how much of a great tool that is. And we're going to have you help us with that after we get through Sheila's interview. So maybe we can touch on it a little bit more there. But before that, I'm going to turn it over to my partner, Rebekah.
All right.
So Laura, it's fun to see the great ideas that people are taking from what you've shared already. So thank you for being here and sharing your story with us. And so as Matthew said, we're focusing on engagement leaders because next week is the very last engagement leader certification of the year. So if you have been interested in becoming a certified engagement leader, now's the time to do it. So we'll talk through how to find that on the teepasnow.com website and on the events under certification. So without further ado, we want to talk about Sheila Ostrom, who's also using her skills as an engagement leader, but in a different way than what Laura's doing. So Sheila, tell us a little bit about yourself. Well, welcome to SUP. And tell us a bit. SUP.
Glad to be here. So we do engagement, and the reason I got that certification is we do things a little differently. Yes, and I love the dollar store too, especially because it was open during COVID. So I own a company called Senior Home Care Solutions, and we do home care, but we specialize for people at home with dementia. So we use the engagement certification a little bit differently. So we actually end up bringing it into the home. And it's interesting because the very first engagement certification I went to, it was the very first one, and I got a backpack with PVC pipe in it. And I'm like, what am I supposed to do with this? And Teepa would remember this because I was just perplexed. And now I laugh because we utilize it so much. So we bring it to the home, and also we go into a lot of senior apartments where people have the need for one-on-one because they really should be transitioning somewhere else, but we often don't have enough places. So we fill a gap.
Awesome. So yeah, so you have several certifications, right?
Yes, I have 4. So the first one I got was trainer, which was great. And I got the trainer certification because I had heard about Teepa Snow through a YouTube video somehow. Someone had tagged me in it. And then I found out she was going to be in Albany at a conference. So that's where I got really excited about her. And I went online, and the next certification that they had was for trainer. So I became a trainer. Then the engagement certification came up, and that was the first one. And I signed up for that. Then I became a consultant, and then I became a coach. And I can honestly say that there's very neat things that you can take away from each one. And the engagement one, I think, is often, people don't think of it the same way, but the engagement makes everything better.
Wow. So
yeah,
in your situation, because I think a lot of times people think of engagement leader more in Laura's role in a community, but you really found a way to take engagement to the homes of folks you're serving. I think you brought some props. Was there a couple of things you wanting to show us?
Yes, I brought a lot. Hang on. Just bring it down a little bit. I didn't want to have that all in the video as I got started, right? Because that might be a little odd. So we do a lot in the home, and I picked doing something with men because, and I'm sure others of you have had the same issues. It's harder to sometimes engage men more so than women. So, and I'm telling you, this whole PVC thing just cracks me up. So the very first thing I ever got from Teepa was a backpack full of PVC pipe. And I'm like, what are we supposed to do with this? Like, through the whole certification, we didn't get to that till the last day. And this has been such a great engagement piece for men especially. We have to a lot of times bring stuff into the home, or we rummage around and find things in the home, which we do have that benefit, but we often do a toolbox. So we will do a toolbox, and we'll have like a level painter's tape. They often think is duct tape, but it's not, so it won't ruin things. Tape measures, screwdrivers, bolts, nuts, bungee cords, all sorts of things. And it varies depending on the gem level, and it also depends on their safety awareness, as you can imagine. But the PVC pipes is something we use a lot. And we get this, and we'll place it in the home in different places where they will come upon it. And we also make the Marshmallow trigger guns. So for those that can have grandchildren, we'll tie it into a project where we're making marshmallow guns for their grandchildren. And some of our later stage people in our rubies, it's amazing that they can still put this together because they've done it before, a lot of men. because a lot of the older men were handy. Not as much as now maybe, but the men were much handier in the past. So we have a lot of PVC.
You went from this idea of what the heck am I supposed to do with PVC pipe to, oh, I use PVC pipe all the time. I love it.
Yeah, we love it. We do sandpaper and a lot of wood projects. And again, it depends. You really need to find the background out of the person that you're working with. And we use Teepa's information sheet, which is one of the first things I got from when I was a trainer. Finding out what is their past, what did they do? You know, were they handy? Were they not handy? You know, right now we're working with a new gentleman who used to own a lot of rental properties. So he went place to place to place to check up on his rental properties, but they sold them all. But he still likes to go and check on them. So we do a lot of that. Another thing we do is we use a lot of wood. We have a gentleman who was a wood finisher, and he used to like to put pieces of molding together and use different shims of wood to level things. So again, the level, you know, safety awareness, you have to be concerned about if they'll hit you with it. But usually if they're engaged, we haven't had any issues. We don't usually use a lot of hammers. The families are usually a little concerned. But we do a lot of drilling. So a lot of our guys, this is a bigger drill. We usually get small ones, but we'll have them make bird houses, and then we'll drill, you know, have them basically drill 2-inch holes apart. So they're measuring 2 inches and then putting screws in so that we make hangers. So it's all in how you approach it. Like she was saying, and I'm not Sheila, the client or the resident, by the way. I'm a different Sheila. I thought about that after. Which is kind of funny. I'm like, Sheila, that's not me.
Okay.
Thank you for clarifying, Sheila. So it's really cool because what you're bringing to light is an important topic, which is engagement for men, which, like you said, is a lot harder for some of us to come up with those ideas. And also that fear of safety, but you're sharing these great ideas of how people can actually have someone doing those things still, going back to those long-term memories, and they're doing them and with success, which is...
Yeah, we've been surprised at some of the rubies that can actually do some more things when it comes to a tool than they should be able to do with just a very little assistance. So, and the boxes, like she has all those boxes in the closet, we do a similar type of thing. And it all goes back to that training where we had all these activity boxes. I do not have a party favor one, so that's going to be one I add.
There you go.
But there's so much you can do for engagement, and families think you're crazy sometimes. They're like, really? You're going to let them drill? Or we had an electrician who we made a circuit board. My husband's very handy, so he helped me make circuit boards for him. And those are all out. Like every guy we have has one of those. And some of the other things we've done, we had a gentleman who had a Corvette, and he wanted us to always drive him around in it. So that was always very interesting. But we had to change the license plate frame every time we went out. So, you know, working with him on things like that. But you know, you just have to be creative. And in the home, sometimes they have their workbenches. So we make sure that we have a piece of that workbench that's safe, that they can work on. We've also set up a workbench in one of our apartments for one of our gentlemen because that's all he did. He was a construction guy. So he has a full workbench in his apartment, and everybody in the place brings him stuff to fix. So it works out really well.
So awesome. So Sheila, because the hour flies by and we have a little bit more to cover, it's so cool to hear. And I know a lot of people are getting good ideas from what you're sharing. I wonder if you could just kind of wrap up with saying,
Sure.
If someone's considering becoming a PAC certified engagement leader, what's your advice for them?
Well, I'll be honest with you. The PAC engagement, I took it initially because I had so much fun at the training that I wanted to do a second certification. That just happened to be the next one. But the engagement training, no matter what your certification is, whether you're a consultant, a coach, or a trainer, you have to learn how to engage people, and you have to be able to train, teach, and consult your families and your workers how to engage your staff to be successful. So honestly, I think it's one of the most important certifications that there are, because it ties in everything about PAC.
Thank you so much for that. And I know that you'd given Carrie permission to share how to follow up with you if people want to reach out to you for discussion about some of these good ideas. So we're going to put that in the comment section as well. Thank you, Sheila, for being here on SUP.
Yes. Glad to be here. Thank you.
So cool. Yeah, Sheila, that is amazing. And I love that piece of definitely going into for men as well, you know, and how can you engage with them, and that whole situation with families going, really, you're going to let him do that? And how that shock is there. But yet, I mean, hey, let's try this and see how it goes, and we can go from there. So that is so cool. Well, the next piece that we're going to go into is those tools. Oh, those amazing tools that PAC has come up with. We love those tools. Those tools help us in so many ways. And the tool that we're highlighting today is the ODJ. ODJ, I wonder what that stands for. Ooh, Online Dementia Journal. How many of you folks out there, and we'd be really curious if you could help us, tell us how many of you knew we had an Online Dementia Journal? It is awesome. So many great articles, so many great resources that give you those tools to be able to use when you're out there doing whatever it is you're doing, or looking for that support when you're trying to do anything with those folks out there living with dementia, or just needing that help. And so Laura Lavoie, as I indicated earlier, has written an article that was actually put in one of our dementia journals. And so, Laura, I'm really curious. Tell me about that process. How did you go about seeing that there was somewhere you could do an article like that and submit it, and how that went for you?
Well, actually, it came about because when I was talking with Amanda and a couple of other people for the apprentice days, I brought that up, and I think it was Bonnie who later sort of got me on the end and said, hey, there it is. Would you mind writing something about this buddy system, because it sounds really cool? And I said, sure. What do I do? And it was a real easy thing. Like, I was walked through it, and you're given, for those of you who might be prolific as I am, you're given really great parameters. Like, can you write between, 12 and 500 words? So I wrote 499, period. And, can you include maybe some pictures or some video? And you have this amount of time, and would this work for you? And if it doesn't, we can certainly do it for the next one. So it was such an easy thing to do. And like I said, step by step, you had somebody, one of the PAC people from the email gods, just walking you right through. And then they said that they had somebody who would edit it. But what I loved is that there might have been a little grammatical edit here or there, but they weren't trying to change your story at all. And he said, if we have any question, we might reach out, to clarify something. But and it was done, and then it was there, and they sent me a lovely copy, and really a great experience.
That is so cool. So when you went into it, it wasn't like they just said, hey, could you write us an article and just send it to us, and yeah, we'll figure something out. No,
they don't leave you dangling.
No, they did what we embody as PAC folks.
It's like everything with PAC. You have a mentor, and I don't know whether they call the people who help with the journal a mentor, but it felt like it, because just any question I had, anything, they were getting back to me. And Bonnie, I mean, yeah, it was super painless.
That's so cool. So they really put the SUP in support, didn't they?
They sure did, as do all of you, yes.
So for all of you folks out there, this whole online dementia journal that we're talking about, when you go on to the Teepa Snow website, you'll be able to see that underneath the resources section, and you'll see the page where it shows all of the different journals that have come out. And for those of you who say might have heard of that there was an article before and you're really bummed that you missed it, maybe you hadn't subscribed yet and you didn't get that email, there's also a part where you can go and it's archived. So for instance, with us, with Laura, we were able to go into the archive and we were able to find her article and look at it. And you guys can do that too with any of the articles out there that we have published in the actual online dementia journals for a ways back. And on top of that, on that same page, not only can you subscribe, but you can also at the top, if you want to contribute to it, which, we would love it if you could help us out with that, because we love what you guys are doing out there. We love the amazing things you guys are doing, and we would love to hear more about those things. And with SUP, we're going to try to get to everybody that we can, and it's going to be hard sometimes. And oh man, you know, we know there's so much more happening. And so if you could write an article or share something with us, that contact us link right up there, if you click on that one, that'll allow you to get in contact with us and be able to submit something like that, so we can see those amazing things, these amazing ideas like what Laura's doing and Sheila's doing. We really want to hear about it. So please help us out. We would love, love, love to hear what you guys are doing, and any articles that you could give us would be awesome.
Cool. So that online dementia journal is such a great tool for us to go back and reference if you've got a family or professionals who are dealing with certain questions. I bet any subject under the sun, you could probably find an article on that you could use as a resource to teach others and teach ourselves too. So very cool. Thank you, Laura, for sharing about that process, that it sounded mostly pain-free and not too intimidating. And that's so cool that you had that support the whole way through. So thank you, thank you, thank you. So we have a special guest tonight who is going to talk about this engagement leader cert, the certification that we keep talking about, because, next week is the last one of the year. So, Teepa Snow, since you created it, can you tell us about it?
Yeah, so the engagement cert was one I really wanted to start with, but it turns out you have to build up to it for a lot of people. So the engagement leader idea is people tend to buy stuff and they don't know what to do with it. And it's like you have all this stuff sitting in closets, or you buy expensive stuff and some of it gets gone and then you can't use it anymore. Or we only have stuff for certain people because, you know, those other people wouldn't make use of it. And it's like, yeah, well, that's just trying to fill time. And what we really try to do in the engagement cert, and I think both these ladies have shown how that works out, is to help people recognize it's about building a relationship with someone, figuring out who they are and who they were and what they still can do when you give them the opportunity. And some of the things we do are going to make people feel valued and important, and some are just going to be more fun and sort of exciting and entertaining. And some of them are like more work-like, like taking care of yourself, like getting up and moving or using your brain. And it can be fun, but it's also exercise. I mean, it's good for you. And then sometimes we just need to take a break, and figuring out how to weave that into someone's day and into life. That's what it's about at the CERT. And so we put people into those situations rather than, you know, just talk about people living with dementia. We do things with the learners at that CERT that give you that sense of, but then we have the ones that give you the sense of, and we lay out, what does the environment have to contribute? What does how you set the activity up have to contribute? What does how you frame it for somebody and how you put it in a day? And what about staff? How do you bring them in, or families? How do you get them sucked in so they can see their person as whole again? How do you build in the opportunity for people to use what they barely have left? And how do you, when you do that, suddenly realize, well, they have more left than I thought they did? Sort of like those rubies who are like, whoa, I shouldn't be able to do that. But you hit the sweet spot. And what's cool about the engagement cert is we learn about a lot about that sweet spot. And we also learn, you know, well, that was great, but we should have stopped 2 songs ago. Because now we went over the top and the cliff is there. So learning to pick up on cues and signals and bring people together. And it may look like a group, but it may actually be working with each individual. And it feels just like a group, but you're doing a lot of pedaling under the water so that that can happen and everybody feels valued and the value that everybody brings. And so the cert is really that awakening, I think, of people going from stuff and things to do to, look what happens when you truly engage.
That was one of the coolest things that when you talked with Laura prior to tonight, talking about how she gave the example of tea party and preparing for the tea party and making the invitations and doing all these things. And then now they would do it as a staff, as Matthew was talking with her. Now they do it all as a part of every single thing we do is an opportunity to engage. And it changes, like Matthew was saying, the lenses through which we look at.
Yeah. So rather than I have to go make so-and-so's bed, it's like we go together and we pull them up together and she's getting mobility and engagement and hand function. And no, I don't get to go do it by myself, but maybe later in the day, I do get to go do something by myself if I really need some alone time. And recognizing, people who are on the staff need alone time too sometimes. And one of the things about being a family member or a staff member in a community is that the treasure of alone time, where I know someone else is helping the person be engaged, so I can have a few minutes to myself to think, to do, to recover myself, but realizing sometimes the things that I could do to recover, so can people living with dementia. And so we sort of, it's a good, I think it's a course that's sort of unusual because people think it's going to just be for activity folks. And it is not. We've had people who are part of Parks and Recreation running a sailing program who come to help figure out how are they going to serve people living with dementia who are in their community who might want to sail. How do they put together programs that actually, how do you determine somebody's abilities and safety issues on a boat? Horticulture. We've had horticulture therapists come and they're working on building programs within their organization, and a museum docent who really wanted to build her program and do more than just look at the pictures. How could they have programming that was deeper?
Yeah, so it sounds like a wide range of folks who come to that engagement leader certification.
Sure.
And we're going to show a little promo video about engagement leader cert. So if we haven't given you enough of a tease, we're going to show this little video. If Carrie can get that pulled up for us.
You do have to have PVC. We have to have the PVC pipe. I mean, it's just a requirement though. And I'll tell one story before we finish on the PVC pipe, which is why, one of the reasons I feel so strongly about it.
Awesome. So as Carrie's getting that pulled up, I just want to say again that the last course of the year is August 19 through 2021. And of course, everything's virtual now, so you get to do it from the comfort of your home or your office. And you will get, actually, after the course and your mentoring experience, you will become a PAC certified engagement leader. So last opportunity of the year, you can go on the website to register and find out more about that. So Carrie, you got a promo for us?
Yep.
Just like, this is a weird one. You ready?
Engagement leaders. What do they do and why do we offer certification? Well, engagement leaders are the people who put life together, the pieces of the puzzle that form a pyramid that allow people living with dementia to have a quality of life and to fill their life with things that give them a sense of purpose and meaning and joy. but it helps us figure out how to help take care of that body and that brain, and how to help us with refreshing and restoring for the person that which is important. Our certification course helps leaders actually figure out how not to try to do it all themselves, because that's really not going to work. What we're trying to help people learn how to do is put together resources with what needs to be done and figure out what do you need to know. And it turns out, just like most of our other work, there's 6 pieces. But this puzzle's a little different. This puzzle requires us to figure out who people are, what they like to do and what they need to do. And then, in addition to that, how do we fit that into a schedule? And when we fit it in a schedule, what kind of skills do people need to make it work? And what kind of environment is going to be important? And then finally, what are the resources we're going to need to bring together to have this actually come to be? So an engagement leader is more than activities. Activities is a little piece. What we're talking about is how do we change the world of care? And if you want to change a culture, if you don't change who does what, when, with whom, then it doesn't really change.
So you had that story about PVC pipe, Teepa.
Yeah. So I was in a community and there was a gentleman there, much as we had Sheila in one community and we have other people in other communities. And they said, we can't get him to do anything. All he does is sit in that chair. And so I said, okay, well, let me see what happens. So I went with my PVC pipe and I sat in a chair next to him and I didn't ask him to do anything. I opened the box. I went, oh my God, look at that. Oh, jeez, what am I going to do with this? And I took a piece out and I was trying to get it to fit together, not very well. And I went, I think this fits. You think this fits? And then I put it in and he went, huh. And I said, I got it, I think. And he said, uh-huh. And then I picked up another piece and I was like, do you think I should put it here or should I put it here? And he goes, I don't know where the hell you should put it. Well, I'm going to try it here. And he goes, huh. So I tried it and he says, that doesn't go there. I said, okay. And so he said, you should put it over here. Okay. And so I put it over there. And then, I'm still working on it. And I said, could you hold that for me a second? And he held a piece. And then I said, can you stick that on there for me? And he did that. And I said, would you hook that in here? And he did. And so we finished the structure. And people were like, you got to do stuff. You got to do stuff. And it's like, yeah. And then we quit that and we were starting to put the pipe away. And I said, thank you. That was so helpful. And he was putting it away. And all of a sudden he paused. And he got sort of quiet and he had 2 pieces together and it was like a long piece and it had a little out on the end. And he looked at it and he suddenly stood up and he suddenly went, do, 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 do. And he played it like he was playing an instrument. And he played it all the way through. And he got the whole song and everybody applauded and he bowed and he sat down. And so they were all excited. He'd done things. His daughter came in a little later and they were telling him, you're like, oh my gosh, he got it. And he got this thing. And, it was like he was playing a saxophone and she started crying. And we all were like, oh, we thought you'd be excited. And she goes, he was a professional musician and he used to play and he hasn't done that in I don't know how long. That's my dad. And so that's why I believe PVC pipe makes a difference.
Wow, what a powerful story. Thank you for sharing that, Teepa. I think we're all going to go out and get some PVC pipe now.
You got to find the right people to play with.
But it goes back to that thing that you always teach us, is it's not what's lost, but what remains. And wow, you all got to see, and we're all getting to hear what remained there still of who he is, not who he was, but who he is. So, yes. Wow.
And that's what's so cool about your guys' stories and what you're doing. I mean, SUP itself, but what you guys shared tonight. Super, super cool. Thanks for all the hard work, everybody. Making a difference.
Thank you for being on,
welcome.
Teepa. And I know that Matthew has some upcoming events to share, and then we will say good night for today.
On the mark today. Okay, so we got some great upcoming webinars, certifications, and events that are going to be happening here. August 13th, we got the Champions Course 1 and 2. You get to really get in there and work on those skills, building those skills up that are going to help you when you're getting out there and you're working with these folks living with dementia, and get more comfortable with those skills, especially those hand under hand skills and that thing, that PPA thing, that, you know, it's kind of important, I think, right? Yeah, that PPA thing's a little bit important. Yeah, maybe. And then on August 14th, if you were feeling like, oh yeah, that 1 and 2, man, oh, that's got me going, I'm doing great. Oh, there's Champions Course 3. So you can go on and do that 3rd course and continue to build those skills and really dive deep into those things that are going to help you.
Matthew, on that one, just a highlight, it's really figuring out how you approach all the different gem states. So
oh my
really
gosh.
honing in on your skills of getting connected to every gem state.
So we're diving into each gem state.
Fine tuning.
Oh my, that is amazing. I mean, come on, you know, thinking about role playing and all of those things and how hard it can be at those times with just your partners, but getting that opportunity to do that with some skilled folks in those different gem states and how you can really fine tune those skills, right? That's so awesome. And then of course, what we've been highlighting all SUP today, at least, right, is that engagement lead certification. So that's on the 19th to 24th, so next week. And there's still time to sign up. And I'm going to show you here in just a little bit how you can get on the Teepa Snow site, get to where that sign up is, and be able to click on that link if you're interested after hearing all of these amazing things that are going on once you get that certification and what that can do for you. August 25th and the 27th is the next certification coming in. That's the consultant certification. And that's going to be starting around 9 a.m. Eastern. And that's a 3-day certification. Some of these certifications, some of you may have noticed, are a little bit different on how they're being presented. And that's for good reason. That's to help really meet the needs of all you folks out there, depending on when you're available in this virtual world. September 7th is that Brain Connection Cafe. That's so awesome. Hopefully you guys get a chance to check that out. And of course, as usual, going on to that teepasnow.com/events to see all of these events, to be able to click on them and see what's going on and get some more detail. Great place for you to figure that stuff out. So I'm going to stop share for just a moment, and I'm going to do what I said I was going to do, which is show you how you can get on for that certification. So you'll go to the Teepa Snow website and you'll see this screen here right when you get on. It may take it a minute too, so just give it a few moments, take some deep breaths. If you're an extrovert like me and you're on the go, boy, those deep breaths really help when you're waiting for something to load, especially technology. Oh, it buffers and buffers. And you can go to that calendar tab right there at the top. And then you'll see that certifications, and you can click on that certifications button. And hopefully we don't have to buffer for too long here and get us right to there. And you'll be able to see the different certification workshops. And oh, there it is. That Positive Approach to Care Engagement Leader certification, August 19th through the 21st. Here's where you can go on and you can sign up and get going with that and do all of these amazing things. Get those goggles that we were talking about that help to open up all of those possibilities with the different things in the day-to-day routines that we miss that could be so important to those folks who are looking for that value again, that I'm needed. I can do this. I can help. Just give me the chance. So hopefully that helps you to get to that, so you guys can sign up and join us. We would love to have you.
Thank you, Matthew, for walking us through that. And I know that Carrie also put it in the comments below. So thank you, Carrie, for all your tech support and keeping up with our chat. Thank you to Laura and Sheila and Teepa for being here tonight. And thank you guys for tuning in. We're so excited to see you here and hope that you'll continue to come back and watch the great work that our certified community is doing. So we will see you next week. We're going to give you a little teaser in a couple of days of who's going to be on next week. It's a couple of ladies that you will probably know, might have seen them on the certified community. So little teaser that'll be coming later this week, but it'll be another great show. So thank you, everyone. Thank you, Matthew.
Yes, thank you.
Sup, everybody?
Sup, everybody? Good to see you. Take care.
Yeah.